The scene, the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year's dinner at Duchesne High School on May 20th, 1962.
Come on over here. I should now like, at this time, if I may, to present the Man of the Year's Award, and this plaque is inscribed as follows. Man of the Year's Award 1962, Irvin F. Weber, in recognition of many years of untiring, devoted service to the community of St. Charles, Missouri, St. Charles Chamber of Commerce. And I should like to be the first to congratulate my good friend and yours, Agate Weber.
Your president has fibbed to me, and I think while I appreciate this more perhaps than any of you would know, I think it is perhaps the most exaggerated thing that has happened in the Chamber of Commerce. But thank you very much.
You sit down right over there. Now, if our distinguished guest will make himself comfortable or uncomfortable, perhaps depending upon the temperature and his temperament, I should like at this time to introduce to you another splendid gentleman, the Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Paul Blessing.
Agate, as you know, the Chamber of Commerce each year appoints a committee charged with the pleasant but difficult task of selecting from the citizens of St. Charles the one individual who is to be known as the Man of the Years. Well, now, how about this? You know, there's always some smart cookie, usually known as the secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, that has to foul up the script. See, I got this down, but later, Ralph, not now, it was supposed to be later. But we'll work it in somehow or other. I'm convinced, Agate, by the actions of your friends gathered here this evening, that the selection of you for this honor not only meets with their approval, but that they, like the members of the committee, feel that you are a man whose civic interest and community service makes you justly deserving of this award as Man of the Years. I wrote that all myself. Now, Agate, let's just look at the record and see what excuses we can find that might justify your selection for this honor. You were born on North Benton Avenue in St. Charles, Missouri on August the 19th, 1898, which really makes you a senior citizen. I don't think there's any question about that. The son of Mr. and Mrs. Lewis Weber and one of a family of 9 children. We tried awfully hard, Ag, to get some of your brothers and sisters to come up on the platform here with you today. We were unable to do it, but I know that some of them are out in the audience, and I wonder, as I call their names, if they would mind standing. I know Mrs. Ada Bruns is here, Mrs. Jack Weber, Mr. Jack Weber is here, Mr. Ralph Weber, and Mrs. Lottie Weber, I'm sure, are here. Would you please stand? Thank you. Thank you very much. It seems that from your infancy you were quite a character, and I think that all of your friends will agree that you still are quite a character. You attended the Benton School. I wonder if we could have that door closed, please, just a moment. You attended the Benton School, and while going to school, you carried papers and collected bills for the Banner News, a job which you kept for 7 years. During these years, also, your folks had 2 cows, and the milk that you kids couldn't drink at home, you delivered to customers in your neighborhood. You finally made it to high school, Ag, and after Joe Herring took you out of the 8th grade to get you out of Mr. Risky's hair in 1915, you took a job as assistant manager at the lifeguard in the old natatorium down where the Goodwill store is on 2nd Street. Meanwhile, in high school, aside from gathering a little knowledge, you had even then started bragging. Like the time when the school was planning a program and you stated that you could play the piano. Well, of course you couldn't, but when the program committee put you on the program for a piano solo, you had your sisters teach you how to play Golden Gate with a couple of fingers, and down through the years you've continued to inflict this melody on your friends whenever the occasion presents itself. And now here's the time for you to show all of your friends what a gifted musician you really are. We have the piano over here, and I would like to have you come over and play Golden Gate. In high school, your records show that you played baseball and football and were quite a ladies' man. But you also continued to brag. For example, the time you told the girls you could tap, and then you had your sisters teach you how that you could make good on your boast. And I went by one of the girls and I got a piece of tatting that you did when you were in high school. And I thought maybe you'd like to keep this. Well, in 1960 you graduated from high school. 1916 you graduated from high school, and you took on 2 jobs. One as assistant to the city engineer, Carr Edwards, and the other as a part-time clerk at the Palace Clothing Company. In 1917, you went to St. Louis and took a civil service job in their examining department. And we understand that your pay in this job was $75 a month because you told them that you wouldn't work for less than $900 a year. This was a year, too, when unknown to your parents, you stopped in at the hospital on the way home one afternoon and asked them down there to take out your tonsils. Well, this they did, and of course after this they put you to bed, but in about 2 hours after the operation you'd had enough of the hospital, so you sneaked out of the hospital and started walking home up Clay Street. We understand that you made it as far as the tavern on the corner of 5th and Clay Street, and when you entered that building, Ag, you started a habit that you've never broken since. In this year also, you joined the Student Army Training Corps at Washington University, but the Germans heard about you joining the Army, and of course the war ended. In 1918, in the spring, you returned to the same civil service job in St. Louis, at the same rate of pay, incidentally. But that summer, you and Rab Dudley farmed Gillette's Island, raising broom corn, beans, and watermelons. This was a time when you got the brilliant idea that if you could coat watermelons with parawax and keep the air out of them, they would last forever. And of course you tried it, and to prove that it works, we located one of the watermelons that you waxed in 1918, and we want you to have it as a remembrance of this occasion. It still has the wax on it, Agate. The two of you, you and Rab, built a shack on the island to live in, but nature sort of took a hand in this thing, and you were flooded out that year. And as we get the story, you had to swim to the mainland while holding onto your horse's tails. Well, in the fall of 1918, you were called back again to the civil service job, and you kept it until sometime in 1919. This year, you followed a thrashing crew starting out in Colby, Kansas. And many are the tales that I've heard you tell about your travels in Kansas. Some of them are pretty good and can't be told here, retold here at any rate. But especially I remember you bragging about how slender you were then and about all the ladies tried to overfeed you and give you extra meals because they called you slim in those days. You were so skinny. In 1920, you and Bill Bruns went west, built a homestead a section 60 miles southwest of Trinidad, Colorado, and you to homestead a section about 14 miles south of La Junta, Colorado. And we have some things here, of course, that you won't be able to see. But here you are in your tent and your cook stove in Colorado. This, of course, served as your home. And then we have you also with your horse and your water barrel. And then we have a good picture here of your favorite meat dish, jackrabbit. And then, of course, eventually you put together a adobe mansion out there, and we have a picture of that too, the product of your own hands. Well, during some months of the year, you spent most of your time proving up your homestead, but when bean money and beans ran short, you took a job as night clerk in a hotel in Denver. These were lean years, but still you had fun and still you considered bragging. At least I've heard several stories about a pretty Mexican girl that you bragged about. I think her name was Juanita Richards. You remember anything about Seems like you called her a beautiful Spaniard one time when I was talking to you. Here too you met and made friends with people I'm sure you'll never forget. We've heard you talk about them so often. Hugh and Hilda Hugheses, Howard Watts, and your good neighbors, the Saltzbrunners. And how about the time you were telling us that you matched coins with Bill Bruns to see who would have to take the horses out to pasture before going over to Saltzbrunners to play cards. And you lost, and after taking the horses out, you were to meet Bill, but you never did get to the card game. And it seems when Bill came home, he found you sitting on the wagon seat, this as naked as a jaybird, because you'd had a run-in with a skunk and had to take your clothes off and bury up. Well, it was during these years, too, that you took an examination, and surprisingly enough, passed it and became a country school teacher. In 1923, because of illness of your father, you returned to St. Charles and took a job with the city as commissioner of streets and sewers. And many of the times that you and Bill Bruns and Ralph Rector were out inspecting and sniffing sewers at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I know that for sure. In 1925, you quit the city job to be married on Valentine's Day, and you were married then to Florence Moratti. I know that Florence is very happy for you today, Ag. And I know that you're very happy to have her up on the program sharing this this day with you. And I'd like to have two parts out. You're such a senior citizen. How was when you were supposed to do this? Did you see? Florence thought Agate had one of these new suits on. She says, "Have you got a lapel?" Well, now let's see. Agate, in 1925, you also accepted a temporary job with the Travis Service Company as sales manager. And in 1927, you became a member of the firm. And of course, you remained there until 1955. Got another one? Yeah, works. In 1929, on January the 23rd, your son Bill was born. And I know how close you and Bill have been down through the years, and I thought that you would like to have him here to share this day with you. And I know that he will want to be one of the first to congratulate you. Sit right down, make yourself at home, Bill. Well, Agate, during the years spent selling cars and trucks, you received many awards for salesmanship from Buick Pontiac and from GMC. And as soon as you returned to St. Charles in 1923, you started serving your community well. In 1930, you were elected president of the Exchange Club. I think it was in 1933 you were elected as the first president of the Conservation Club. In 1936, you laid out routes for the school bus system, sold Alva Keekler on the idea of operating them, and also sold in the buses. This took some time. And Rick Travis tells me that you were gone away from the business 3 days before he missed you. The next years, while you were working, you still found time for fun. And you had you and several others, I remember, leased Rhodey's Pond for fishing and formed a club that people called the Narrow-Minded Lake Club because you were too narrow-minded to let anybody fish there, but just you characters. In 1942, you started the St. Charles Locker plant with Alva Keekler, and this year also you were on the Selective Service Board, a job which you worked with until 1946. In 1946, you and your firm purchased the Terminal Cab Company and the Terminal Cab Cafe. The cafe you sold in 1947, and shortly after that, or 47 I think, and shortly after that, they sold the cab and the bus business to Thorley Alderson. In 1949, you added the St. Charles Appliance Store to the Locker plant, operating them as a St. Charles Locker and Appliance Company until February of this year, 1962, when you sold the Locker Company to your employees, retaining ownership of the Appliance Company, which of course you still operate. In 1950, you were greatly responsible for holding the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce together by suggesting ways and means of spearheading a drive to raise $10,000, which was desperately needed. This was the year also when you caught 2 fish on 1 plug. Of course, that's more bragging. In 1951, on February the 1st, your son Bill was married to Marie Antoinette Felig. We've asked Nettie to be with us today, too, because I know that she's real happy for you, and I know she'd want to be here. Agate, previously I've been telling about how you started bragging when you were way back in high school, but all of the bragging that you've done all your life can't hold a candle to that which you've done since you've had these 4 lovely grandchildren. Incidentally, I should say that these are grandchildren of Randy, Marcia, Margot, and Craig. I know that for the last few years, most of your spare time, Ag, has been spent in fishing, playing golf, and that you constantly practice your golf swing, as proven by this picture taken shortly after you became associated with Travis Service Company. This practice is now paying off in cash that you collect pretty regularly from Howard Ellis. I know that every fall you spend some time in Colorado. And I know, too, that in 1955 you took Florence down through La Hunter to see your old homestead. And I know that a year after that, Eunice and I visited your homestead, and we found it down there. We found the old adobe home that you built, what was left of it. Got a picture of it. And we also found laying down there this old coffee pot, Aggie. It's kind of dirty, and I couldn't get it cleaned up too good, but thought maybe you'd like to see this old coffee pot. Oh, yeah, and then also, Agate, you remember that old cottonwood tree that was down in the neighborhood there? Well, we were looking around there, and we found hanging on the tree this old blanket, and we couldn't imagine what anybody would use it for, but we brought it along. We thought maybe it belonged to you, and that you'd like to have it. Kind of waited for something like this so we could present it to you, you know. Well, Agate, the years roll on, of course. Someone has said that friends are a man's most valuable asset. And if this is true, surely you're a wealthy man. All of your activities seem to, in some way or another, make more friends for you. For years, as an example, you managed the softball team in the city of St. Charles. Not many managers make friends, but I'll bet that some of the fellows that played on your team are here to honor you today. And if they are, I'd like to have them stand. Or any of the fellas that played on Agate's team here. Would you stand if you are? Thank you, fellas. And here we hope, Agate, that this will bring back some happy memories. We'd like to present you with this shirt. It's a baseball shirt of one of the first teams that you played on, the Old Throws Commuters team. I'd like to have you look at the size of that a little bit too, Agate. I got them coming unloose. I got one of these fancy ties on. You see what happens to it? And it came off. Would you mind if I take it off? Well, as long as I'm going to take my tie off, would you mind if I took my coat off? And if I get my coat off, would you mind if I unloosen the collar? Whoop. Won't go any farther. Say, this is nice. Among your many other accomplishments, Agate, one of which you brag almost constantly, is that of being the best dang cartball pitcher in St. Charles. And so that you can keep in practice, we'd like to have you have these cartballs, just to kind of pitch around. Throw him a cartball so he can... Oh, yeah, he'll catch it. Those are just to practice with, Agate. We want you to keep them. Agate, many others from out of town have expressed their disappointment at being unable to be here this evening. Friends such as Taylor Clark, Rosemary Ruard, Helen Hackman, Jonathan Clark have written letters of regret, which I've included in this book, and I have one here that I would like to read, if I might, if you let me get my glasses. I'm almost getting to be a senior citizen myself, you know. This is from Austin College in Sherman, Texas, from the office of the president, Mr. Irvin Weber. Dear Lig, it would be one of the greatest pleasures of my life and an honor also if I could be a member of your group of fine friends on this happy occasion. Since that is not possible for me due to the nearness of the closing of the college year, this note will have to do instead. Not many of the old gang that were originally a part of our group that began to form some 50 years or more ago in grade and high school still keep in touch. However, one of the real fine experiences that Edith and I have enjoyed is a wonderful and long-standing friendship with you and Florence. We know of no finer people. Both of us join warmly and heartily in our best wishes for both of you on this occasion of recognition and honor to St. Charles' outstanding citizen of the years. Our sincere congratulations and highest hopes for many more years of joy and unselfish service that have marked you as an outstanding citizen and as a fine American. Very sincerely and cordially yours, John Clark. I thought that was a nice letter and I wanted to read it. Lost again. All of us honor and respect you, Ag, for your spirit of cooperation in civic affairs. Always you've given your time and your efforts to every worthwhile project with no thought of reward of any kind. You've headed many drives, both in the city and the county, and have faithfully worked on such projects as the community chest, polio, Red Cross, cancer, the hospital, industrial development, Boys Club, United Fund, as chairman of the business section in 1960, and as general chairman in 1961 when the St. Charles area went over the top, plus many, many others. And we have here, Agate, a gentleman that worked with you this last year that was very happy to come out, and I'd like at this time for Mr. and Mrs. Bob Staley to come out, please. Bob, we have some chairs around back here if you and Mrs. Staley would sit there. Agate, you're a member of the First Methodist Church, past president, member of the board of directors of the St. Charles Chamber of Commerce, member of the board of directors of the Industrial Development Corporation, past president of the Conservation Club, twice past president of the St. Charles Exchange Club, member of the Rotary Club, member of the Pikers Club, member of the American Legion, member of the BFS bowling team, the Moose Club, and the St. Charles Country Club. And so, Agate, because of your record of unselfish service to your community for many years, you've been chosen to receive this Man of the Year's award. And as a token of our esteem and remembrance of this occasion, we wish to present you with something that I'm sure you can use so that you can enjoy your favorite sport just a little bit more. I have a dozen golf balls over here that I'd like to have you kind of hold on to for a while, if you will. It's all right. These things get a little heavy, and the boys said that they didn't know whether they could work this out or not, Egg. And now, this is something that is a little extra, actually. But the other day we were playing golf out there, and someone lost a club cover, which was found, and we auctioned the thing off out at the club. And actually, Agate wanted to keep it because he doesn't have any golf club covers. And Mr. Greenwald finally challenged him to a match for a cover. And after Earl got to thinking about this, he decided that Agate was getting so old that he knew that Agate couldn't beat him, and he didn't want him to have these covers. So Earl has sent up some golf covers for you, Agate, that we thought we'd present to you at this time to cover up the head of the golf clubs. Because of the fact that we know you do like to play golf, Agate, we'd like to present you with this beautiful wood club that we have here. Well, as a matter of fact, Agate, it's a set of wood clubs. We got a couple more of them here for you too. And we hope you like them. I mean, after all said and done, anything to help improve your game. And of course, we know, Agate, that you don't play all around the golf course with just wood. So we got a couple of irons for you too. We thought maybe you'd like them. We kind of figured it'd help out a little bit. You think they'd be all right? Now, Agate, I know too that walking around the golf course carrying all of this stuff loose would be quite a chore. So we kind of got this thing to put them all in so that you could handle them, you know, real easy when you're going around. No, I'm not going to touch them, man. Well, Agate, we hope that you have many hours of pleasure out of this little gift, and we hope that every hour of pleasure that you do have out of the gift will bring this a few happy thoughts back of this occasion, too. And so that you may read all of the nice things that have been said about you this evening, I want to present you with this book. You'll also be given a tape recording of the proceedings this evening. We want to congratulate you and say God bless you, Mr. Weber. Kind enough to turn on some house lights. If any of you people want up and come up and shake hands with Agate, we'd be most happy to have you do it. Thank you very much for your kind attention.